Okay, I'm McKenzie. We've got a property nearly 10 kilometres out of Otorohanga to the north and west, right on the fringe of the good dairying country. Our country is hill country, and traditionally has been sheep and beef country. Our property is now 57 hectares, and of that about a third is reasonably easy contoured, so that we've retained that for dairy support, grazing, and the other 2/3 is hill country that when we arrived had, as well as gorse issues, it had erosion scars from the 1958 Otorohanga flood event. So we considered that trees were the obvious land use. Started off in the first 5 years predominantly with Tasmanian blackwood, and then the next 5 years predominantly with radiata. Yeah, we had our first harvest, a very small planting of radiata done in 1985, 2 years ago, sort of November 2010. Total just over 700 tonne, and we netted around the $24,000, which for the time we considered a very good return. Just about every farm in New Zealand, with some exceptions, particularly hill country farms, have some land that is of marginal country in terms of its agricultural productivity. So every farmer with land of that type should look seriously at what is the best land use, and in many cases it is forestry. You may not know a great deal about trees. There are people out there that can help you, and as I found out, starting from a very low knowledge base, the Farm Forestry Association has certainly helped me get that background information that I needed to get into forestry. It doesn't need to be on a large scale. Equally, there are economies of scale, and small blocks of trees can be a problem when it does come to harvest. So people should look at the logistics of where they're planting and just what they're planting. Our experience with the poplars has been a bit mixed. The regimes of pollarding and managing the trees for shade weren't widely advocated when we had young trees, and so those plantings were perhaps done a little too thickly, and we've now probably got too much shade from our poplar trees. Particularly, our species choice, quite a few of the poplars were Chinese poplars. They drop an awful lot of leaves late in the winter, early spring, and so we get quite a lot of pasture loss at that time. So our experiences have been a bit mixed, and we'd certainly do things differently with the choice of poplar species and also their spacing. Okay, so behind me we've got a 1993 planting of radiata, and as we swing around you'll see an older planting of radiata with a few Lusitanicas at the fringe. That was a 1989 planting, and in the foreground we have a second crop of radiata on the area that was harvested 2 years ago, and beyond that you'll see some blackwoods that were planted in 1988. 1989 planting will be our next radiata harvest. There's about 5 hectares in that block. We'd be anticipating, perhaps 3,000 tonne. Yeah, so I'm now standing in our first blackwood planting. It was 5 hectares, planted in 1985. Pruning and thinning is a large commitment, but to get any significant quality timber from blackwoods, it's something that just has to be done. We've possibly pruned a little high in places and perhaps not thinned quite as much as we could have done. Although there's certainly no marketing infrastructure like there is for radiata. It's very difficult to encourage anyone to buy it in log form. There certainly is a market for better grades of Tasmanian blackwood as sawn timber. So I'd certainly encourage people who are planting small blocks to consider it as a species, depending on the suitability of their land and climate. We have sold some timber in recent times. The best grade timber made $3,000 a cube. We got half that for a lesser grade, and as we were still very much learning at the times, some of the timber was definitely only just sort of firewood grade, but we were very encouraged that from that early harvest, and to sell timber at $3,000 a cube, was very encouraging. Yeah, well, I think they've certainly been the best choice of land use. The land wasn't suited in its entirety to agriculture, so we've been pleased we made the decision when we did, to get into planting trees. We've had the one small harvest of radiata and a dribble of income from a small blackwood harvest, and we look forward to a continuing income stream, from both species into the future. We certainly consider that the returns we have had would have been significantly better than the agricultural returns, taking into account the type of land that we are farming.